Okay, we are going to do a oil change on a 2008 Honda 420 Rancher. You'll first want to get the machine warmed up good. So, you can play Bobby Hammer Time or whatever you want. And get up to operating temperature, the oil will drain a lot easier. What we're going to do is take the seat off, and we've got a little kid to help. You gonna help? Oh, look at your goofy teeth. Gotta take that one. You gotta rip that tooth out, kid. Anyways, so seat comes off, latch is right behind it. Just flip it, pull it out, and set it somewhere where it's not gonna get goofy. The next thing we're gonna want to do is get these side panels off. So I will set the camera down here. And these just pull out. You don't want to act like a gorilla. I can kind of show you here. They got like these little tabs. And you just pull them out. There you go. See, a kid can do it. There you go. Alright, hold on, Soph. And then they kind of, they're a little keyed. You can see here they got like these tabs, and they have to fit in when you put them back. So kind of goofy, but we'll take those off. The reason you have to take both off is because there you go, good job. All right, set it by the reason you got to take both off is we need to get to the fill here, and the oil filter's on the other side. So now, I probably should have got a drain pan. Oh man, that's so muddy. If you can really see that good. Probably not. Hopefully I don't get mud in my ear. Oh, here it is. Oh, 17. Good guess. Probably should have got the ratchet. Oh, damn it. One thing I recommend doing is cracking the oil fill so that oil comes out a little bit faster. Preferably not all over your shop floor, but whatever. Alright, so this shouldn't be too gorilla tight. And drain it. Honda recently has switched from 1040 to 1030 is what they recommend, so that's what I bought. I believe this thing takes 3 quarts. I'll have to look. Of course, I've misplaced the manual. Pretty typical for me to do that. Alright, so here's what we're after. This is where the oil filter is, and there's 3 8mm screws or bolts. The big thing that you have to remember when doing an oil change on a Honda is you want to make sure there's not a lot of grit built up here. So I didn't turn on the air compressor. Normally I'd have an air compressor and blow all this stuff off, but not a big deal. The other thing, the oil's just going to go everywhere. So you can put a rag. I got these little goofy blue rags. You can pick them up anywhere, Home Depot or whatever, but I'll put a rag down there to try to catch some of it. And when you take this off, there is a spring behind here, I believe, if memory serves. Honda has done this same type of paper oil filter for forever. I mean, who knows, 30 years. So you can get these cheap oil filters. And I bought these a long time ago, so I don't know if the part number is the same or not. But Rocky Mountain ATV, 400EX I think is what these were for, but it's all the same. So yeah, we don't need to see the rags. Okay, so what we're gonna do is camera guy is gonna hold the camera again. So 8mm. We'll put our rag kind of under here. It's gonna be a giant mess anyways. But all right, so I'd like to break them loose. and they shouldn't be that hard to begin with, because this is going into aluminum, and aluminum will strip real easy. So, and then I have this handy guy here. The other thing, since bolts and whatnot have a tendency of flying away from you, I like to have a junk can of some sort to put my screws in, something that's deep. That way you won't, lose your screws or whatever. So we'll take them out and put them in our can. Make sure you hold the cover, because you don't want this thing flying. Who knows? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a spring behind here. So we'll take these out. These are all the same size, so you don't have to worry about mixing it up. But you rock this a little bit, and then it should pull straight off. And hopefully not a ton of oil goes all over your floor. Well, it looks like it already did. That was a good time. So, all right, so you can see this says this side and spring. So the spring is in there. I like to leave the spring alone and not goof around with it. So we're just going to take our oil filter and set it down. I don't know if I can dump some of this oil out. If you want to get fancy, you can clean this off and put some what the hell is it called? Silicone paste on here. Oil's not good for O-rings normally, but I'll just clean it off with a semi-clean rag. Yep. So I don't have to did we get the oil filter out of the box, Soph? Alright, don't worry about the tool. Just get our oil filter. So helper number 2 here is getting our oil filter. Yep. There you go. And you definitely want to make sure that you put this on right. So it's kind of hard to mess up, because it says outside and inside and all that stuff. So good thing we have our goofy rubber gloves on. Alright, so this one, oh, that's great. So this one doesn't tell you which way to put it, which is not great. Look at the other one. But yeah, that's right. So we can look at the other one. Normally, if you notice, there's a little rubber O-ring here, and then there's a, if you can see how there's like a shoulder here. So this would fit in here. I mean, you can't really screw this up. But so this one, see how it says this side and spring towards engine? So it's basically the same. This must be a genuine Honda filter if it's written like this, because they want it to be idiot proof. But anyways, so now we're gonna put this back in. Try not to mess the spring up. You can feel, yep, you can feel the spring making some resistance. So I like to get things started by hand. If you mess up that O-ring, which you shouldn't, but if you do, you can get another one through your local Honda dealer. But yeah, try to keep pressure on everything and start these by hand. And then we'll get the bottom one. And again, these are all the same size, so you can't really mess it up. And then we're going to get our spinny guy here. And this makes it a little bit easier to spin stuff on. And again, we're working with aluminum here, so you don't want to be a gorilla with this stuff. You want to take it easy.
Yep.
So we're going to clean our mess up as best as we can. Not a huge deal. You're just going to find yourself flying into a mud hole probably as soon as you get done with your oil change, right? Yep. Kind of tight, but not crazy tight yet. And I'm sure there's a spec for the torque, but no, we're okay. I'm sure there's a spec for it, but I like to just kind of go by feel and just not get too gorilla style with things. So get them all snug, and again, you want to use 1/4 inch drive for this, not like 1/4 inch converted to 1/2 inch or something. So, and then just get them kind of snug.
You don't want them to pop off.
Yep. All they're doing is holding the cover in place. So that's it. So we're done on this side. Now what we're going to do is we got to fill it full of oil. And if you didn't have your little helpers like I did, you probably would have been done about 45 minutes ago, but that's all right. Okay, so lucky day, I found the book for the four-wheeler, and this thing takes 2.9 quarts of oil. So I recommend picking up one of these things. It's like a graduated measuring type deal. It's nice to be able to put 3 quarts of oil in it exactly and then pour this amount. So I picked up a gallon of Honda's GN4 here. I recommend, making sure that you stick. It doesn't have to be Honda oil. It can be Yamaha's brand. It could be, trying to think who else makes decent oil. I think Mobil makes a motorcycle oil.
Try to guess who makes oil.
What? Okay, no talking from the camera guy.
Why not?
Okay, because we'll get less views that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how are we looking here, so? Okay, so here we go. 3 quarts. So we're gonna pour this into here. Try to get air going on. And this way it will be a much easier to pour it into the four-wheeler than having to guess all the time. So the other reason you want to use a good high-quality oil, the reason I use the Honda stuff is because, well, if it's good enough for Honda, they made the damn thing, it's good enough for me to run in it, the oil. So plus it has the special additive package for the clutch and everything else. So it's important. Don't just, if you have your Uncle Bobby's Pennzoil on the shelf, you don't want to just throw that in there because you have it. You want to use the proper. And without slopping our oil everywhere, we're going to take this out, and I just stick it right there. Shove this in. So this is what's going to take the longest time. It's quite a bit of oil, which is good. The more oil you have in an engine, the higher the likelihood of the engine living a long time. So you can thank the homeboys at Honda for thinking that through. So now that's essentially it. We will let it sit for a second. Then we're going to we'll start it up. You got to let it idle for a couple of minutes. Then you can check the oil level. The one thing to remember with Hondas, I don't know if it's like this for the other guys, but when you go to put the dipstick in, you don't thread it all the way in. You want to basically seat the dipstick. You don't want to screw in the dipstick when you check the oil. You want to just basically stick it on the first line of threads. I'll back it off there. So it's sitting square in the fill hole here, and then I bring it out, and you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but it's full. I'm not even going to worry about it. So we're going to crank this back in, and then we'll put the plastics back on. I'm going to check the air filter real quick too. So that's no big deal. It's under here. So we'll look at the air filter real quick. It's probably a good idea to keep some spare air filters. If it's real dusty, this isn't too nasty, but if it's real bad, you can always keep spares around. But yeah, so that's fairly clean. I mean, it's not too bad at all. So I'm not going to worry about the air filter right now. But you definitely want to check them to see how nasty they look. You can get OEM ones or Unifilter. There's a couple of manufacturers out there. So we're basically good. We're just going to put everything back together and fire it up, and should be good to go. We're going to make sure. One thing that I like to do is Say hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
One thing that I like to do is in the back of the book there's usually space to write down your what you did on stuff. So looks like I didn't date the last oil change, but I'm sure it was a year ago or something. So definitely want to date it. And you can see I put 17 millimeter for the drain plug, and then 8 millimeter. Not yet. 8 millimeter for the oil. Liam, just wait, bud. And how much it takes. So I put in 3. 0.1 is not going to be a big deal. So yeah, enjoy, and hopefully put it together right so it doesn't get destroyed. Where's my phone, Sophie? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for watching.